Hey, welcome back to the Big Esports podcast. Now, if you're thinking about conferences, they're pretty much the same across any industry, across any country, anywhere throughout the world. But I wanted to bring on Esports BAR today because I really think they do it differently. There's been a lot of copy and paste esports conferences in Australia, around the world. While some of them are fantastic to go to, others just really seem like a copy of the one that's happened just before. So I had to bring on Débora and Maria from Esports BAR to have a bit of a chat about how they do things a bit differently. We also had a good talk at the end about women in esports, and I talk about some of my personal troubles that I've had. You know, you see a lot of people saying, hey, we need to do better, and I agree, but the questions I ask him is how? You know, for me, as someone sitting in this industry, how can I make sure that I'm able to uplift more women to come in? We talk about you can't be what you can't see. We talk about diversity, not just through gender, but also race, ethnicity on panels, coming into the industry and more. And one last thing to mention quickly, just because it happens so much, any of you who are working at home over these times with coronavirus, we did have some technical difficulties happening primarily at the start of the episode. So hopefully you can bear with us as some people disconnect and reconnect. But ultimately, I think the conversation is one that's worth listening to. So I hope you enjoy. Maria, Débora, we're live. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good,
Hi.
good. Good to have you both on. As always with coronavirus and people in multiple different time zones, technical difficulties, but we made it and we're live. And we got a lot to talk about today. And obviously you both are rested up since the last Esports BAR conference went off. So I'd love to, I guess, start off with a little bit of introduction into you both and your history in the esports space. We got a lot to talk about today. So yeah, let me know a little bit more about yourselves.
Okay, so I'll start. I'm Débora. I'm head of marketing and content at Esports BAR. I just joined the team, actually, so I can't say really that I have a history on sports because I joined the team on March this year. So when everything starts to get blurry in the industry of events, but it's been quite a good adventure for myself. But before I used to work at the Read Medium already in another division with other events and marketing as well. So I have a background in marketing for more than 20 years. So actually sports just came to reinforce this background because it's a new industry that I'm really keen of. So it's been quite a journey.
Yes.
We might have lost. All right, we got ourselves.
My turn.
Yes. Looks like we might have lost her again.
Oh, I lost Maria again.
It's all part of the fun.
Yes, I'm really used to that.
Yeah, especially with your conference, right? So obviously, you guys run multiple conferences a year. In the past, they've all been in person, but seeing as you started in March, I feel like March is basically when coronavirus kicked off globally.
Yeah.
So let us know a little bit about, I guess, your response to that. Like how did it work?
So we were fortunate actually because our main conferences, they happen normally in a normal time environment. They happen always on February and in September or October. So we have in Cannes in February and Miami we used to have in October. So we had our physical event this year. It was actually the last one that I heard of. And then we had to move to a digital environment, which was not simple because we are really, really, really good on doing physical events. This is our expertise. We really mastered this domain. But change the event itself for a digital environment, it was really quite a learning for us because it's not something that we are used to do it. And it's not that simple. It's not just transferring your physical event to a digital environment. You have to think a lot of things. It has to be more like a TV show or a series, and you have to keep people engaged all the time. It was like 4 days. So the challenge for us was really how we keep our clients engaged and interested in this content 4 days in a row, because they are not all together. They are at their homes and doing other things and working, and they have different schedules and people from all over the world. So it was really quite a challenge for us. But I guess after all, we could manage to do new things. We innovated a lot. So we we partner with a different platform, a broadcasting platform that is called Easy Live, which for us was great because it's a really good platform. And with that platform, we achieved to do things in a more smooth way and keep people live streaming, keep our panelists and a conference alive and with a good content all over of the 4 days. But it's a learning. We are still learning because now we have more than ever. I don't know how it's going to be from now until next year or the year after that. So it's just keep learning, keeping improving, and maybe master the digital environment for events itself as well.
Yeah, and I guess that's one thing I didn't think of, right? So obviously you guys run a conference, and generally you'll see, with coronavirus, there's a lot of webinars online, and one-offs, people talking for an hour or so. But that's a good point. I mean, you've got multiple days. You've got to keep people entertained over that period of time. Did you see a massive drop-off from talk number 1 to talk number 6 or 7 throughout the day? Were you able to keep people on?
Actually, we had a good average for every session. We noticed that actually the sessions that were late in the night, because we ran everything from Paris, and the event was scheduled in the time zone of US. So we saw that in the last sessions, the late sessions in Paris time or Europe time, they tend to drop down a bit. But and we saw really people that come in, log off, log in, log off because they are doing something else. But in average, we achieve really good viewers all the sessions actually.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty interesting. So, yeah. I mean, you achieved your goal, right?
Yes. Actually, it was. Well, this is part of what we have to do. Even if you are in a physical event, we have to keep people interested because people can sit on their seats and watch a bit, and they can go out. So it's really regarding the content. It is going to be interested if they are going to learn something new, and this is what we constantly think about when we are putting up our events, when we are putting up our topics and everything that is going to be discussed, and finding the right people to talk about, because you can have like experts in the market, but when they come up on the screen, they are not so good talking about it, but they are experts. So you have to animate, you have to have a good mix of everybody in the scene so it can keep interesting for everybody.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess, like for anyone who's watching live right now on LinkedIn or Twitch, the kind of thing that the tagline that I wanted to lead this chat with is that Esports BAR does it different. I feel like conferences in any industry, whether you're in dentistry, home goods or esports or gaming or even sports technology, which I've spoken at before, they're all pretty much the same. They've all got panels, they've got fireside chats with senior top level executives, they've got keynote speeches from a couple of top people as well, but essentially they're all the same. It's a mixture of networking, maybe there's dinner or drinks thrown in, obviously harder when it's coronavirus, but you guys do it quite differently compared to others. You've got a lot of offers that I see, not only for me as a speaker, entice me much more to speak there due to the caliber of people that attend. But the other thing that I noticed that you guys have more than anyone else is the amount of actually endemic esports people attending your events. Because usually what I'll see is, if I'm speaking at a sports tech conference or even an esports conference, it'll be like me and, maybe 3 or 4 other people speaking from esports, but 0 in the crowd. It's all aimed at non-endemic, only outside people. I'd love to learn from you and for the audience to learn about it, especially, is just what are some of these things that you do differently compared to the other conferences?
I guess one of the things that is different from us that since of the beginning of the event, we chose a really good advisory board that the people that come from the industry that are endemic, so they help us a lot on the construction and building the event itself. Another thing for us was really, we did a lot of research, we studied a lot of our competitors and the industry and the needs of our clients, and we discovered actually that important it was to do the networking. The conference and the sessions, they are important, but since information you can find anywhere nowadays and everywhere mostly, so it's really hard to to pick up interesting topics that people are going to really learn about with it. So with the advisory board, they come to help us on that. So they are people from the industry, they know the discussions that are happening, and we research and we talk to our clients a lot as well. So I guess this relationship with clients for us is really important, is our key asset, and this is something that we don't want to lose. So all the planning of the event, before the event, we keep talking, we keep asking feedbacks from our clients, prospects, and our advisory, everyone that is in the industry and what they expect us to do it. So this for us is important, to have this client focus view. For us is really important. And also, I guess what differentiated us from other events is the networking part. So we managed to have a really, really good sales teams that are really inside of the market, and they are talking to people all day long, 24/7, all year long. And they achieve to bring those people that are really C-level people that want to meet other people because they are interested in keep the sports industry growing. So for us, this networking part is really, really important as well. And I don't know, Maria just starting now, maybe she can add something to this point, because she's the head of networking and VIP. So this is really our core. We really value to have this kind of all the value chain. We call it a value chain of the sports industry. We value to have all of those people in our events. For us, it's really important to have everyone.
Yeah, so Marie, I'd love for you to give a little bit of intro, about yourself and what you do with Esports BAR.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had some technical problems here. So I'm head of sales and brand expansion of Esports BAR events, Esports BAR Canada Miami. And I heard your first question about what sets us apart. So thanks for that. Thanks for considering us also here today. I think that the main reason is that since its launch back in 2017, every brick of Esports BAR was thought to work in a long run. And the only way you can achieve this is by putting your communities first and tailoring all the experience around them. That's a fact. Back in 2017, I don't know if you remember, Chris, we didn't have that much B2B conventions and networking events in the esports space. So rather than launching a traditional convention full of booths and conferences, we decided to ask the community what was needed. And we then really quickly realized that our ability in connecting people, in doing matchmaking events, was something that could create value for esports companies and newcomers willing to expand more and take projects to the next level. So yes, our ability to connect people, and this combined with great content, speakers, and nice places is what creates a unique experience from the moment you attend the event, from breakfast to dinner. And we create this family around, and people really feel comfortable whenever they come. So I can say that, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess what I get a lot from that is it's high effort, high reward, right? Where like so many other conferences, I think that want to come into esports really are low effort, but they expect high reward, which is hard. And it goes for anything, but anything, especially in esports and gaming. Like we've all seen a logo slap from a brand that hasn't gone very well because they've just tried to say, "Hey, we're esports because we sponsor something." But it's hard, and you need to put in that extra effort. And even using Australia as an example, I don't think there's been a successful esports conference specifically in Australia since around 2018. And we've had at least 2 or 3 cancel since then, because they've all been the same. They've been, the same single keynote speaker. They've had a panel that talks about what is esports. They have a panel that talks about women in esports, and then a couple of others about brands and then investment, and that's it. And it's like, well, who's your target audience then? And I think an interesting thing for me with Esports BAR, like I said, is I feel like not only do you have a lot of top level, executives and people who make money decisions from traditional brands like Domino's and others coming to your conference, but you seem to have a lot of endemic esports people coming as well. You've got a lot of team owners, you've got a lot of agency owners and people like that too. So how do you find that balance? Like, who is your target audience and how do you identify that?
Would you like to start, Débora?
Yes. Well, I guess, as I mentioned before, I guess for us, our target is, we do a lot of research of the industry. We are trying to always stay connected to what's going on and what's happening in the industry, what is trending. And for us, I guess it's really important to do this research and to know who are the good people that are going to bring the good things to the table. So I guess this is the main thing. How we do it? Well, as I mentioned before, we talk to a lot of people. The main part of our jobs is like relationship. So we are relationship brokers. We go after people. We know what is trending. We go after those people. We talk to those people, what you're looking for, what you're aiming for, and how we can help you to achieve this goal. So really our whole role as an event organizer is not only organize the event, but is do this thing, as Maria mentioned, to do this role of relationship broker. So it's really we achieve that on doing the relationship with people from the endemics that we see that is popping up. And we do a lot of research. We are always connecting all things and deals that are happening on the market.
And I can add to that Read Exhibitions and Read Medem has a huge network. And actually, when we decided to launch Esports BAR, we wanted to serve the community, the esports community, and bring to the table all those contacts that we already have. So when it comes to the audience, we're actually quite large and it's getting larger, but we definitely look into the value chain, right? Because we really want to keep this in mind also for newcomers. And it's something that can be tricky also for the industry. So we definitely need to keep in mind that we have the whole spectrum, so the value chain, but then we have newcomers and how to integrate them into the ecosystem. And there's a lot of research to do when it comes to connections. And that's why we get these conversations with people, get feedback before launching any initiative at Esports BAR. But we also use our own network, our big network in the gaming industry, because the group organizes the PAX events and Comic-Con events. And we also have our B2B network on the media industry, MIPCOM, MIPTV, and the music industry with Midem. So this gets the whole group and Esports BAR very strong when it comes to relations and trends, right, to put in the table.
So is this a similar formula that happens at other RAID events? Is it not just the esports one?
No. Well, it is in some kinds of ways. Well, we have a business model per se, but it's not the same for Esports BAR because the sports community has other needs. So it's really, we adapt this business model that we have at Read Medium to the targets and the markets that we are in.
We have made some research across our different business units, and what comes out is that there's a strong need in getting the right connections. Whenever you come to an event, and this is something that you might probably experience before, Chris, you have struggles to meet with the right people, and that's a fact. Okay, so you really there's a strong need of a return on investment, and this is and this is measured by the amount of good contacts that you do before the event and how you connect with them even after the event, right? And this is what we bring to the ecosystem. We bring programs, dedicated programs that last 2 days and a half, but goes beyond Esports BAR through the whole year.
Yeah, almost like forced networking. It's so hard, right? Like how do you get people to actually talk to each other? Because I like putting my course and like putting my Corsair hat on, when I worked there, the last thing I want as a brand rep is just having 500 teams coming to me saying, sponsor me, please, sponsor me, please, sponsor me, please. Because I get that in emails enough, right? So that's the other hard thing too. And I go through this in a different realm. So I own and operate an esports group called Oceania Esports and Gaming Business. So originally I created it because I was sick of doing all the research myself. I was hoping that I could share info in there, other people could share info, and like my LinkedIn, when I need a contact, I can reach out and someone can help me to find the right person in there. But we've had this discussion a lot, which is, do you gatekeep do you say, no, this person shouldn't be allowed to join because they're only 15 and they won't have the same, potentially high level discussion that someone like me and the managing director of ESL will? Or is it fair that I keep those people out? And I go through that same balance all the time with you guys too. So I'd be really interested in hearing, like, if you've got the head of marketing of Domino's coming to your conference, are they going, please, Maria and Débora, don't make me talk to 700 people asking me for free money? Like, how do you go about that?
You need to have these discussions beforehand. That's super important. Every person who comes to our event has this discussion over the phone or in person with the sales team or the marketing team. Because it's not because you are the head of marketing of Domino's that you can fit to the VIP arena, right? Maybe at this point you only want to immerse yourself and look for conferences. So we really tailor the experience for everyone. We want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with whatever they take. Okay, so this is super important, and this is what we are doing, and we will keep definitely for new formats and projects that we will be launching. And it's not easy, actually, to say no to people. It's not easy to say no to people, but they realize that it's the good and the right way, and they come back.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and saying no is hard. I mean, I've, for like the way my LinkedIn works now, I have a VA that goes through my, goes and triages my messages that come in, because it does happen quite a lot. I hate to not reply to someone who says, hey, Chris, can you help me to understand how to get a job into esports? Or I'd like to make a high school esports team or a league, or, how do I first, do something in the market? Like, I don't want to ever stop. But what I found is that, especially 2018, 2019, I was just spending so much, not even so much time, but so much brain power on just having coffee catch-up meetings that never go for 15 minutes like they're supposed to. They always go for an hour, because it takes 15 minutes just to introduce yourself and understand who each other are. And I always have struggled for a while with that balance. But now you just have to take a bit more of that hard line, I think, when you want to actually get work done. Because I had this discussion with my VP of sales, where he was like, Chris, you're not getting anything done. All you're doing is meeting people and just talking. Like, you need to do some work as well. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Exactly.
Yeah, but I think is something that you build in a long term as well. As Maria said, is something. Sports bar is not a one thing time in your agenda, and the event is built to be a construction in your career as well, and that's what you prioritize. Well, if you're a brand that is coming into sports right now, maybe you won't be taking much advantage of participating on VIP in the first time. But if you learn in the first time, you come back in a second time, then you can have some more interesting discussions. So it's really our events at Sports Bar, we try to do it in a long-term way. So the first time, maybe you take advantage of some kinds of things that we are providing to you. And in the second time, you take advantage of a lot more. And you can do contacts in the first time, and then you can enhance this meeting. So it's really a long-term construction. It's like finding a job. You can just expect sending a CV and getting hired in the first time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And I feel like
quick win.
And like
yeah.
Yep.
No, sorry, I was just going to. It's like quick win never works.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like like a little bit of a tangent as well is that, talking to both of you with the standing that Esports Bar has in the market and how much knowledge you have, it's a good case study, because I know a lot of people listen to this podcast who aren't in esports or gaming and use this as a way just to gather information and to keep up with the scene and what's going on. And I think the case study of Maria and Débora is fantastic to show how non-endemic people from outside the industry can authentically come in just by listening. And it is high effort, like we talked about, but it is high reward when that happens. And it's almost like, if you're not going to spend that effort, don't bother. And I think that's what we've seen with, like I said, with these conferences that have come up and have been cancelled over that period of time. Like, you need to take that time. But in the end, all it is hours. It's not like you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you reach out to someone on LinkedIn and you say, I've got something to offer you, they're likely to reply. People in esports love to talk. They love to share information, and they love to, help to grow the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of
definitely.
the differentials of the industry as well. People are more open and willing to discuss things with people that don't understand the industry. It's completely different from other industry. I used to work with real estate and technology, so people are more they are experts, and so they are okay. If you're not an expert, maybe I won't be losing my time with you. It's different from the sports industry, I guess. People are more willing to, because they are learning as well. It's new, they are keen. They are almost all the people that I know in sports, they are really enthusiastic about the subject. So they are really looking forward to keep the industry going and not lose the momentum. So it's really a differential as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've always wondered about that. I've always wondered whether that's a thing that will always continue, because that's how esports has been for a while, or whether it might fade when companies start to become bigger and more corporate. We start to get more publicly listed esports companies and people making some more serious dollars. That's been a really interesting one. But you're right, like it's been the same since. And I've used this example in the past, but haven't for a while, where I was part of these forums called StarCraft 2 Southeast Asia, which also encompassed Australia. And I remember a discussion on there where someone said, "Hey, everyone, Christmas is coming up. Make sure you talk to all of your family members about esports. Maybe you've got, an uncle that works as a director at KPMG. Maybe you've got an auntie that works at Domino's, in marketing. Go and evangelize esports. Go and knock on their door and tell them about it, whether they want to listen to it or not." So, it's been a way that esports for so long has been punching up, where esports is just trying to get people to care about them and trying to get these companies to pay attention. So usually when someone does say, "Yeah, I would like to listen and help," and I'm a corporate person that's here to advance, like, people are happy to spill the beans. They're happy to give the info.
Collaborate, yes. I guess the collaboration is the word actually on this industry. I don't know how it's going to be in the future. I really can't predict, but I think it's really original, the subject. And, for me, it's really a passionate subject. You can't get into a sport if you don't like at least a bit of gaming. So it's really, and it touches emotions as well, because for me it was something, okay, I don't know nothing about sports, but I used to play video games and I really love video games. So wow, why not? Maybe I'll learn something new. And it comes from that. It comes from the childhood passion of playing video games. So it's really passionate subjects.
Yeah, that's so true. I was talking to a rapper today called 360. He's an Australian rapper and he's getting into gaming and streaming. And I was telling him, I was like, it's a good time to be a gamer, because, I was born in 91. I'm 28. So when I grew up, it was, me and anyone older than me, it was a terrible thing to be a nerd at school. You didn't want to outlive like video games because you're an outcast. But now it's like the opposite. Rappers like 360 with face and neck tattoos are the coolest thing. And they're selling out concerts, and also they're playing on Twitch and Facebook, playing games together. You've got like Logic signing to Twitch and doing an album release. T-Pain is on there. You've got NBA players, and you can't, as far as coolness goes, you can't get cooler than rappers. So like Drake and Logic, and you can't get cooler than NBA players, and they're both investing into esports at the same time. So it's a pretty cool time to be a gamer. It's only getting better.
Yes, exactly. And I think especially now that with the pandemic, sorry, Maria, go ahead.
No worries. I was just trying to say that even if you're not a gamer, I remember these two experiences when I got invited to one of the Inter Extreme Masters in Katowice, and also at the finals, the low finals last year. It was mind-blowing. I think that this really gave me a different perspective of esports, and it was an incredible way to address the message to all these people that don't know anything about the esports space. Because in a way, when you are new to esports, you come to these events, you are celebrating, even though you are not supporting any team, you are celebrating esports. And that's so much good, and you have so much fun on it. Going to a big concert or full of great people. So yes, definitely. Even if you're not a gamer, but you're an occasional viewer, or it's a good way to share this passion and being enthusiastic for the future.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I think it's been a common thing that myself and others have always said that, if you're really trying to get a mainstream person into esports, you have to somehow drag them to an event. Because if you go to an esports event, that's when, exactly like what you were saying, Maria, it's like, that's when it becomes real. Like that's when it becomes something exciting. I don't exactly know what the secret sauce is, but I guess it's part of, you walk in and you see something that looks like a concert, but it's live and it's nonstop. If you go to a Counter-Strike event, there's like sparks and flames and confetti coming up the sides. There's like really bassy, gunshots of the AK and when the bomb's being planted. There's cheers that are happening all the time. There's multiple times around whenever someone gets a single kill, everybody's cheering, or they get a single gank in League of Legends, everyone's going nuts. And then you don't just get to live that once, you get to live that over and over and over and over again. And maybe it's also the repetition of, it's not just you going to watch, Manchester United play against Liverpool. You're also seeing like another 6 teams that are all coming there and playing like one after the other. And maybe it's partly why like a music festival is so cool, because you're not just seeing one artist, you're seeing like 8 that you might enjoy, or 6 that you really love and 2 that, that are just exciting to you. So, and I think it's like what you were saying too, is that right now where esports are sitting, it is like a celebration of esports, whether you're following just the game, or whether you're following just esports or just the team or just the player. Like there's those, different levels to it. But yeah, it's exciting for everyone.
Yes.
Need to find a way to bottle that and to somehow present that to people who don't want to go to it. Because I so seriously, like I really don't know how to explain it. Because you can show people every sizzle reel. You can talk about that stuff, but there's only 2 things that I've ever found have worked really well. Number one is the example of, I've talked about this on LinkedIn. I've got a friend who's, 23 and he's a Minecraft YouTuber, and he bought a house in cash through his Minecraft ad revenue. So that's one thing that makes people go, holy crap, I'm double that age and don't own a house, so it must be good. Or 2 is like getting someone to an esports event. But it's just so hard that you can show 100 sizzle reels, you can show people how excited the crowd are, but until they're there and they can like feel the energy, like, yeah, it's so hard to get people across. But I've had exactly this experience before where I had like this agency that was kind of and ahhing, they got a lot of big brands. They didn't know whether they want to get into the space or not. But, they came to the Melbourne Esports Open and straight away they're like, Chris, I'm in, let's go. Like, I want to do something right now after like a year and a half of procrastination. So it works. It's some kind of drug. It works.
No, definitely. I guess the experience of people in a competition or in a finals, it's something that we want to bring to our events as well. And then we discussed this a lot. I'm going to be a spoiler here, but this is something that we discuss a lot because we want to bring this experience of sports to our event as well, because we know we have a lot of endemics that are already in, that know everything. But there are people that are beginning and what the hell is sports? And if they don't have this experience, as you mentioned, Chris, is not tangible enough. And this makes the difference, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Got to find a way to bottle that up.
Yeah.
So with coronavirus with you guys, obviously, you're mainly running physical events. It's pretty much impossible now. So many countries have their border closed. Like you're explaining just before, France is kind of out of a lockdown and into a semi-lockdown. So what are your plans going forwards?
Maria. Well, we plan to have our events anyway. Yeah. Yes. Well, we have a lot of plans.
Yes. I don't know if you have heard, but we have some local initiatives that were started 2 years ago already. So we used to organize local meetups. So far, we organized one in Paris, in London, but also in Sao Paulo. So totally open to do something in Australia, by the way. And the idea is to get the community reunited. And for us, it's a great way to get content and hear the problematics of a specific region. It's extremely important. And this is something that we do to connect everyone, to engage the community. This is free of charge. So it's quite a nice experience because we facilitate, once again, the experience for everyone in a more local or regional perspective. So this is what we do. And then we can also engage the community through targeted workshops, master classes, and also through our blog, right?
Yeah. Yes, I guess what we are going to try to do this year is keep having our events, even if it's digital or physical, but having several touch points and important touch points for the community. So when they arrive at the physical event that we are planning to do, they have more preparation in advance, and so they can benefit more of these events. So I guess mainly the plan is like keep engaging the community. We are not going to not do nothing. We are going to be present. This is for sure. Whether it's digital or physical, local and global, we are going to keep enhancing and enriching the community with good content, with speakers, with master classes Maria mentioned. So there are education part that we are aiming to do as well for people that are newcomers. And so when they arrive at the physical event, hopefully in the second semester of 2021, we were hoping to have our physical event, and then having all those people that we touched base before to come to our event to have more preparation in advance. I guess this is our main goal.
And do you see these sort of online events continuing? So do you see these online events continuing into the future? You know, with esports and gaming being such an online activity, you know, I guess part of it too is removal of those barriers, right? Like if you're a small team owner and you can afford the ticket, but you can't also afford the time or the money to travel overseas to come to Miami or France. Yes,
I guess a hybrid situation would be ideal. Yes, I guess it's something that we are aiming. As for esports itself, the competitions that went online that they couldn't happen live anymore, they find a way to do it online. They did it good. I guess for us it's the same. I guess for us it's not it came up with a precedent that we can't ignore anymore. So we have just to adapt and find a good format to have both, and both that whether when we can to have a physical event, but when we can't have a physical event, or even if we can, but touching more people online, it would be ideal for us. So yes, I guess the digital experience that provides us as well to get to places and to people that we couldn't because they can't travel or the budget is not compatible to the event. But if we find a digital solution that we can touch those people, yes, for us it's really important to do those hybrid solutions, yes.
I can add to that, so it's a good complement nowadays. So we are definitely looking forward to reunite the whole community physically, and we will try to do that next year, but we will definitely need to find a good balance between these physical events and also this complement or this digital complement. But I guess that again the main thing is to try to get close as much as possible with our community, because they are also struggling to meet with people in person, right? So this is what this is what is in progress. There's a lot of ideas that we are going to implement to make this like online experience, this digital experience, to create it with more value. Because that's, I think, that we are lacking of some features, of some, and it doesn't have to be too much elaborated, because innovation is not about putting something extremely new, but you can really adapt something that already exists and that really match with people's needs. So yes, definitely a lot of things that are going to happen that we cannot share now, but of course we'll be gladly to share in the future. And
what's the response been around, you know, due to the rise in coronavirus for brands? Are you seeing more brands interested in coming to Esports BAR because of that? Are you seeing like more revenue come through, or potential sponsors with you guys as well? Yes, especially from the media side. Big telecoms, for example, companies, they are coming more and more and see what to do in the space. And brands, we have been
we have multiplied the number of non-endemic companies coming to our events. So global groups that really are looking to do something serious in esports. Of course, they are not in an advanced level in much of the times, but we keep this connection and we help them from the moment they get on board. And it's not about one shot. They really engage themselves from 1 or even 2 years. They've been coming.
Yeah, okay.
We can see there are so many examples. Like, for example, Porsche, they started with us in 2017. And look them now. They have a league. So yes, we have been helping these people to integrate their brand, and Esports BAR really contributed a lot to that.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that was going to be my next question was, do you have a way, or have you tracked, those kind of brands that have come, to Esports BAR for the first time, shown some interest and then come into the market? I guess anyone, everybody who's watching this on LinkedIn is followed me on there, and you'll notice that we post a lot of case studies on our platform as well. That sounds like an awesome case study to follow that journey, to go to a non-endemic brand and say, okay, what was your first exposure to esports? And that's usually the question I ask a lot of the time talking to mainstream brands, which is, why are you here? Why are you talking to me? And it's always interesting, the answers you get. Sometimes it's the boss's son plays video games and said we have to do it. Actually, that's the answer a lot of the time. Usually it's the boss says I have to look at what this is and I have no idea. But I'd be really interested to see some case studies from you guys. Do you have any other examples besides Porsche of brands that have first been exposed to esports through Esports BAR?
Yeah, we have several. For example, I remember Domino's Pizza of Malaysia. The president of Domino's Pizza came to Esports BAR in 2018, and they just after that they did a summit to the whole group in the Southeast Asia, and he truly told them that he was going to implement a department dedicated to esports. That was amazing. So we thought that this was going to last, and we should continue to address to these people. It's not easy. It's not an easy task. We have a lot of people that helps us to do that. But yeah, people come to our events because they see more and more non-endemics, especially brands coming on board. But we can also mention, Daimler, for example, or who else? I don't have in mind right now, but there are so many brands that have attended the event, and they just catch up with someone and then catch up with another one, and then it turns out that this was something that could result for them, because that's the hardest part, to really fit with your brand, your image, and actually having this platform that can help them to have different perspectives and meet with different people, help them to know what will be the right path to take.
We can see I'm taking some notes. As you probably see, I'm taking some notes right now. I'm going to make a case study about that Domino's one. I think that's awesome. I think that's a perfect example of someone kind of coming into that space and really getting, swept up into the whole esports thing. Yeah, and one of the other questions I want to ask you as well, that I talk about so much in content, is gaming versus esports. So obviously you're Esports BAR, and my company is Big Esports, but we make majority of our revenue and majority of our clients really from gaming, not so much from esports. We work with Unicorn, doing influencer work, and NVIDIA. A lot of these other projects that we're working on that we talked about pre-recording. That's all pretty much gaming, not so much esports. So I'd love to learn from you two things. One, how do you educate the brands coming, kind of like what is gaming and what is esports? Because everybody's confused, I think, mainly due to the media and esports being a buzzword. But two, like, where's the distinction for you? Are you still running panels and speeches on, talent like Dr. Disrespect and Lupo and Ninja and how they're funding things? Or are you kind of one track mind, specifically just trying to go into that hardcore esports market with League of Legends and teams like Team Liquid, etc.?
I guess for us, is a touchy subject for us as well. Well, as you said, we are our core is sports, so we are focusing on sports. Of course, we can't talk about sports without talking about gaming. The differentiation for me is like, well, is a competitive game or is not a competitive game? this differentiation of sports or not sports. For the people that come to our events, I guess they have the newcomers, I don't think they have this distinction on their heads. They know that they have big audiences, that they can benefit for sponsoring something and have a good revenue for that. Besides that, I don't think they have this clarity, where is the silver lining, where is the line between gaming or sports. And I guess one of our, not obligations, but our role as well is to explain how you can have games. And this is like, there are some other events that you can come and you can discuss gaming. And you have sports, and here we can provide you regarding sports and where you can put your money, where you can invest, whether your brand is going to be successful in that or not. So, and the relationships that you're going to do, they are related to sports, even though we know that the game is always behind. It's like talking about sports and not talking about entertainment. And we see more music coming in as well, and media. So all this in the entertainment industry, they are really connected stuff, but our core business is still sport. So
yeah, that makes sense, and it's something that
yes, and I guess
so Maria, you go.
Yes. I guess that yes, the great majority of people, of newcomers, they don't have this specific ideas on their heads, right? So the idea is to provide them with as much information as possible when it comes to education, and we don't really tell them what to do, right? They are the ones to meet with each other, and our platform help them to decide whether they would like to go to that game or to find the innovative ways to interact with esports, but also in the gaming industry, because yes, the frontier is quite small, and we see entertainment on it, right? So what we still are looking into is to have more synergy with the groups, and actually our group is working in the gaming industry. So the PAX events, for example, they are organized around the world. So this is also some ways of collaborations that we are starting to do at Esports BAR, and we're definitely looking forward to expand a bit more, because indeed, as you said, we can't really separate too much both.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm trying to think about like what my answer would be while you were both answering. And it's like, do you make influencer bar? Do you make game developer bar? Because they are all intertwined in some way. Like, how do you make a game an esport? That's definitely a very valid question. We're working with a mobile title right now that wants to add an esports component. And, the mobile title, if I told you what it was, you'd go, there's no way that could be esports. But maybe, because esports really is just a structured competitive nature of play. Candy Crush could be esports. Tetris is esports. Donkey Kong is kind of esports, really. They've got high scores and competitions. So, yeah, it's always hard. And it's almost like, and then I was trying to use the influencer example, but in my mind, like, gaming influencers are completely different to any other industry sort of influencers. They don't function the same way whatsoever, because the vehicle of content creation, being live streaming on Twitch, is just wildly different to any other one. I think there's a lot of similarities between a fitness influencer and a makeup influencer, for example, but there's not many similarities in the operation and the way the sponsors and the industry work between, a Dr. Disrespect and a fitness influencer, for example. Very different ways of creating content, very different ways of engaging with the audience, very different ways of having to, produce and deliver sponsorship and things like that too. And yeah, sure, the lines can be a bit blurry, like, FaZe have a lot of content creators who are very fit and doing a lot of fighting and things like that. And, you've got Pasha Biceps in CSGO, who's got massive biceps and things like that too. But still, it's so different. So yeah, the question always is where do you draw the line? And that was a question that I asked in some of the content we did recently, is like, I asked people, not as a kind of as a rhetorical question, like, is Ninja esports? Like, he used to play, and he will often play in competitions, generally for charity, but he will play in competitions. So in a very loose terminology, maybe, because he's playing for cash in tournaments, but not really, because it's not really his distinction. He's primarily an entertainer. So yeah, it's an interesting one to me.
Yeah, the markets of entertainment, they are really all connected. So it's really hard to trace, actually, to establish a division between what is one thing and what is another. But I have one question for you, Chris, if I can.
Sure.
Do you think esports enhance the gaming community, enriched and enlarged actually the gaming industry?
Yeah, for sure. I had a short discussion with someone recently about how Formula One helps to develop technology for traditional cars. So from my understanding, the paddle shift that you get on all like Mercedes AMGs that influencers love to drive, that is coming down from paddle shifting in Formula One. So, in a way it does that. And I think through a lot of the content that we've done, talking directly to game developers and people who run, say, tournaments, esports is often a loss leader. And a marketing strategy for video games to get people into it. So it's almost like it's the opposite to how traditional sports works. It's almost like, imagine if the MLB was a marketing ploy to get people into little leagues, which is funny because it's complete opposite, in esports versus traditional sport. But I definitely think so, because whether people are ever going to be professional or not, they still need something to aspire to. Like, how many people who watch the UFC actually participate in combat sports? I do a bit of jiu-jitsu, but I am nowhere near a competitive athlete, but I love to watch the UFC. But, every now and then you watch it and you go, man, like maybe I should pick up a kickboxing class. And I remember I love my brain and I don't want to get rattled, so maybe not. But, similar with esports as well, that, while, I talked to Todd Citron, the GM of competitive gaming at EA, and he said the same thing. It's a loss leader for them, but their aim is to make it a standalone profitable product into the future. And there's only really one case of that directly profitable, which is the Dota 2 International, which is just an absolute money printing machine for themselves. But I know, at least on a personal level, that marketing plan works, because I used to play a little bit of Heroes of New Earth. I used to play League of Legends, like way back before they even had ranks, when it was quite new. But I never really played Dota because the game was too hard to get into. The entry skill level is just impossible for Dota. League's a little bit more friendly. But after the International 2013, I watched that and I've been playing Dota 2 ever since. I dumped League of Legends straight away because I loved the tournament. I loved that there was $1.6 million or more in the prize pool. I loved the storylines. I really enjoyed the production. I really enjoyed that there was, a week full of just content nonstop of all these teams playing, like, dawn to dusk every single day. I love the cheering crowd. And ever since then, I've been playing Dota 2. So I do know that marketing plan works for me. So I think you're right. And I would like to think that esports drives technology innovation going down, because you've seen from around 2018 time, it's when every brand stopped talking nonstop about VR and started talking about esports. So like AMD, when they released their RX series cards for the first time, and they also released their Ryzen CPUs, all of their presentations were just about esports. Because previously, working at Corsair and Thermaltake, everything was about VR. And me as an esports person, I don't care about VR, like as a user. And then you've seen that kind of go forwards now too. All these peripheral releases, they're making mice. There's been a war for the past year to make every mouse lighter. They've got more holes cut in them. They all weigh less. And that's all because, it's in their belief that makes it better for esports and things like that too. So, I would like to think that, like F1, esports drives technology innovation, but also, like you were alluding to, Débora, like it really drives their storylines. It gives people something to aspire to. It gives people professionals to follow, and people love to follow people who are better than them at things they enjoy casually. It's why they follow professional golfers. It's why they follow NFL players. It's why they follow fitness influencers. And I think it's why they follow esports players too. Yeah. What do you think?
Great. You feel so
passionate. I think it really became the scene of gaming more, maybe not more interesting, but it moved a lot the gaming industry. So I guess we see more content being developed around that. So I don't know if you saw, but the Netflix released a documentary on gaming. So I guess this is some way due to the sports industry that is movimenting making the industry really blow up. So it's really, I think there is, I can't say for sure, but I think there is a cause-consequence factor in this thing. I think sports really made the gaming industry more active.
Yeah, it's like it's a PR
and
piece.
What you said just before. Yeah. Sorry, do you hear me?
Yeah. Go for it.
So what you said just before, that esports drives technology, and we see this through the whole value chain. So we have seen more and more technology around team management, and when it comes to the production of new games and tournament organizations, and you have all this integrated into esports that makes esports more fun, even more fun, and accessible to everyone. So definitely, yes, it's a great marketing tool for gaming, and it's looking good for the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's fine to sit as that loss leader a lot of the times, but while these publishers have it sitting there, they are looking at ways to make it like directly profitable. And and I think it's important that you said too about that, driving the, what do they call it? Some of the investors that talk to, like the picks and shovels behind the industry. How do you develop what I often call like the unsexy companies, the ones that aren't making, that aren't making millions of subscribers on YouTube, that aren't the face of all the PR, but the companies like I'll be highlighting soon in some of our content, like Chipotle, who do payment processing for like Roblox and Epic Games. They're moving, well, judging by how much those kind of companies make, they've got to be moving billions of dollars a year. But I'd never heard of them until not too long ago. And like Xsolar as well. If anyone's ever done a Twitch subscription before, you've got an email from Xsolar. Like, who the hell are they? Like, they're not in the mainstream press. They're not the companies that are highlighted. But I think these kind of ones too are very important in the back end. And then you're seeing even AI. You're seeing the Dota 2, and the name escapes me, but the AI team in Dota 2 that's now playing against and beating professional Dota 2 teams, which is scary, but interesting. It's so right, for sure. And I guess, one other thing that I've talked to you both about outside of this, and wanted to talk about it on here as well, just as around the promotion of women in esports as well. So like a personal problem that I've talked to you about is, I've got a sports tech conference upcoming, and they would love to see a balance of gender diversity on the panel, as with so many other panels I've done before. But it's always so hard for me to find women who, want to speak and want to appear on that as well. So with you two as well, being women in the esports industry, I'd love for you to learn about what's that journey been like in creation of your own conference. How do you overcome some of those hurdles as well? And, do you have like a list or something like that people like myself and others can contact, or do we just contact you directly to ask for suggestions? Like how?
I guess, yes, I answer to you that is this $1 million question, because it's even for us, we know that they are there. I've been contacting a lot of associations of women in gaming, women in sports, women in traditional sports, to get a broader view of who are those women that are willing actually to come out and speak. We know that they exist. We have quite a few examples that comes to our events that make part of our advisor board. But I guess there is, as for any other industry as well, women tend to stay in the background, in the backs of the scene. So I don't know if the few women that they are so busy that they can find a schedule to be part of every conference that they are invited. But I think there are more women that can put themselves out there and share their stories, because I'm sure they will be inspiring. And for me, as a conference and content manager as well, it's difficult to find those women, to find the right person to the right subject. And it's not only about having women talking about it, but it's having the right women talking about the right subject and being inspiring and making part of a larger group. So that's why I'm contacting a lot of associations of women in sports to get to know more of these women and get to know more more the background and the history of the women that work in sport. Maybe it's not a C-level, it's not a VP of some company, but it can be a manager that has something interesting to share. So for me, it's just getting to know those people, and I know they're now more than ever, the associations, they are coming together and they are really useful. So one thing that I would advise you, Chris, is get closer to those associations. And of course, yes, we do have a list of women that we want to bring to our event, or they already spoke in our event. But yes, we build all these lists to keep, and we can recommend to you if you like some specific subjects around it.
Yeah, fantastic. What about you, Maria?
Yeah, so in the opposite, I think that in these changing times, we see more women taking the lead and sharing their experiences. So as Débora mentioned, some people that came to my mind are the ladies, the powerful ladies that are part of our advisory board. So Mari Carmen Fernandez, who's spearheading esports and innovation for Media Pro Group, a traditional group in the media sector, or Wendy Lecotte from HyperX, or some other people like Johanna Faris or Nicole Lapointe or Angela Natividad. The list it starts to be longer, but yes, there's still work to be done to shift old paradigm. And but I think we are moving in the right direction. And we see that when these ladies take this stage, wherever they come to Esports BAR or other events, we see their empowerment. They are sharing more and more the right message, and this is definitely contributing to developing more. And for future generations, it's extremely inspiring. So, no, in my opinion, maybe these ladies are less exposed, but we need to be there to empower them also, and to share all the information. We are always sharing with Débora. Whenever we see someone taking the stage, we quickly try to get as much information as possible, so that these people can contribute also either to our events or to other events.
And there is this topic as well. Maybe there are not women, maybe for me, for instance, when I'm searching for someone, it can be really someone that is not really into the sports industry, but has a background on entertainment or media or things like that, that can really help the industry. So it's not only women only in sports, but maybe you can have like women all over the place that are willing to share their background on marketing or media or things like that, that can have a good match with sports, because that's what we talked about before. The industry, the segments are really, really close. So you can find a lot of great people in other segments that can help sports with their insights, actually.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, there was and because I'm terrible with names, I can't remember her name, but I can see her face. But there was a lady who spoke at the EGAA conference in Australia back in 2018. And the thing that I liked the most about her was she runs a lot of different companies in male-dominated sports. So she runs like Ladies Who League, like rugby league. So obviously rugby league is definitely a male-dominated sport and industry. And my favorite quote from her was, you can't be what you can't see. And I always thought that was powerful, but always trying to balance, like what you were saying, Débora, is finding the right person. I don't want to put someone on a panel to be the token woman. I don't want to put someone on the panel to be the token African American, to be the token Asian, token anything at all. I want someone to be there through the merit of their hard work in the industry, and through the challenges that they've faced, and through the information they have. And I know there's got to be some out there, but sometimes I've talked to some friends, and they've had that fatigue where they've said, I'm sick of being the woman on the panel. Like, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't represent all women. So sometimes it's been really hard for me to be like, okay, I want to help as a voice in this industry to lead effective change, but what do I do? And every time I look at, people are talking about, we need to do better. And I'm like, okay, but how? someone help me, spoon feed me some information or something. So
yeah, I guess maybe we should just try different people, because that's the interesting, as you mentioned as well. Conferences, they tend to have all the same names, the same people all over the place. So for us, it's really this is a challenge as well. How we can bring new faces of the industry that are good and that are really good and they have something to add. So, of course, the experts, they will always be asked to talk, of course, but it's important to renew, to have new faces, new ideas, and inspiring ideas. And this comes from women as well. So this is something that we always try, and we try to be really careful because I guess having a gender balance is really important, not only gender, but race and having a diversity of backgrounds, but also people that are going to be inspiring.
Do you have anything to add there at all, Maria?
Well, I think I'm thinking of inspiration because sometimes we look too far, actually, and the inspiration is everywhere. Wherever you look around, from the moment you speak to someone and you are open to receive knowledge from that person you are talking with, regardless to his or her age, social status, or background, you are definitely expanding your knowledge and your vision of things, and you are inclusive as a result. So maybe we should look more around us. And as you said before, we have some friends, some family, and people that are willing to share things. We just have to ask and try to do more research too. Maybe it's just around the corner and we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that's really true. Yeah, and I think for anyone who's thinking about I guess the diversity and stuff, especially if you're a very numbers focused person, there's been a lot of studies that have proven that, the better you can balance diversity, the better a business does in its bottom line. So it's not even just about the vanity metric of, we want 50% men and women to sit on a panel because then we can say we're diverse. You can also say that, well, the studies show that you're going to make more money and you're going to be more successful if you just spend that bit of extra effort. Once again, maybe what we're talking about is the same as Esports BAR right at the start of this talk, which is high effort, high reward.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd love to see. I know there are some other companies working on some initiatives as well. I've been approached by an esports team who's working on some ones too. But I'd love to get your opinion on something that I ran probably back in 2018 now, I think. So one of the things that I found through some of my research was a lot of the women I talked to said that they just didn't feel comfortable making a start in the industry. They felt like the ceiling, like I said with Dota 2, the ceiling is just too high to even start to get into there. So what I did was I ran some free talks, which were basically, I was the host, but I didn't say anything at all. And I had one woman who's done a lot of stuff in the industry, and I had about 20 women or so that would come to watch them. And I was hoping that would be a catalyst to say, once again, like I said, that you can't be what you can't see. And I got a lot of good feedback from the women in there saying that, okay, now I've seen someone who's done it, I feel like I can do it too. Are there any initiatives in the space you've seen that are, maybe similar or not to that, or any other initiatives you've seen that if any women are watching this, they're interested in getting into the space, any resources that they can start out with?
Not many from my side.
No, not that I can recall.
Something that we should. It's something that we should definitely develop, and it's good for everyone, for the business, to bring more innovation too, right? But it's a great way to integrate everyone, regardless, as I said before, their background. And when you see that leading people started from zero and they are actually somewhere in esports, or even from a business perspective, then you can really say to yourself that it's not that hard, it's not impossible, right? So I think that we should implement and increase the number of gatherings, of masterclasses and workshops to try to bring these people on board, and not only women. I think that we should get on board also men and other people able to share their ideas from other segments too. So we are planning to do some of them. We will be definitely delighted to work with you on that, because I think that this is something that we should do in parallel and more from our established initiatives like Esports BAR, and it's in our plans. Yeah.
And one way that I tried to see it is kind of like, equality of opportunity. So if you're in Australia and you grow up, way out of the city in the country, you will often get some extra support, whether that be some sort of financial aid, whether that be a lowering of the entrance requirement or such to get into a university course. because they understand that growing up somewhere so far away, you probably don't have access to good internet. You probably don't have access to high schooling infrastructure because, in some places in Australia, you live 500 kilometers away from your neighbor. So it's a little bit hard for you to, build a study group or even go to a school and things like that. And I've always wondered whether that's something that could come into, this male-dominated industry of esports. Is there some way that creates that equal opportunity, which doesn't say, yes, women and other minority groups, you're going to be gifted a free seat on the board or something like that. But yes, we understand that you often have a harder path to get into the space. You don't have as many role models to look towards. And, the path as a whole might be a lot harder for you. So here are some ways that we can uplift you. Here are some ways you can get some information. Here are some ways that you can then become on an equal footing to everybody else.
Yeah, I saw, the Women Sports Association, Sports and Tech Association, they are doing a really nice program with the young women that want to get into gaming or sports, traditional sports and esports. So they have a fellowship, program of fellowship. So they develop people, they mentor these young girls that want to work in the industry. So I guess those are the kinds of initiatives that we need as well. So how we can foment the younger generation to the young women generation to come forward more quickly, actually. And I guess we see that with young women players, with players like Scarlett and things like that. So people that are really out there and they are having a huge success. I just wish they could speak more about their background and their path to young generations. But I guess fomenting actually the young generations is a key subject as well.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to participate as a mentor in something like that. I think that'd be good. I'm happy to, talk to some groups for free, over a series of time to give some of that information on how to get into the industry. I think that's one. I think that's one barrier that maybe Esports BAR could work on because obviously, you guys are great at breaking down those barriers between those different areas is, like you were saying, you want to be like that centerpiece. You want to bring people together. You want to be able to give people access to corporates that they wouldn't normally get. And maybe that mentorship is something that Esports BAR can champion, which is, a women in Esports BAR thing. And, I'd be happy to do some mentoring and stuff on there because I think for a long time too, when I was getting into the esports industry, I was always looking for a mentor and usually they say, get someone who's where you want to be in 5 to 10 years. And I was like, there's no one in esports that's been here for 5 to 10 years. And also I don't really know what I want to do. Like I ended up making my own job a lot of the times. There wasn't like my position at Corsair, I was the first person in Australia. My position at Thermaltake, I was the first person there. So it's not like I could go and talk to someone who's done that before. It's impossible. But now I feel like I'm in that position. I have a kind of a duty, I guess, to help to, explain to people, how you can kind of make it, go on yourself as well. And I don't know, my girlfriend hates this. I talk to her about it all the time too. It's like, go and do a job that you like. I know anybody can because I did. And if I can do it, growing up in a small, low socioeconomic town in Devonport, Tasmania, they only had 30,000 people, went to a public school, had terrible internet. Like I'm sure other people can too. So it's like, how can I help people to go and do that?
Of course. Yeah, of course. And this is sharing ideas, and this is the most important thing of all. Yes, no, I'm sure it's one of our plans as well to not only create more mentoring programs, but creating forums for women and diversity and things like that on Sports BAR. I guess for next year we are going to incorporate other topics in our program as well that we'll discuss not only that but more society matters like mental health situations, how to improve performance, education and things like that that are more related to society, not as related to business as we usually do, but that are as important as the other topics.
Do we lose? No, we got Maria. Did you have something to add?
Right?
Yep.
Well, especially nowadays that we are facing so much challenges around in society, it's super important to keep these subjects in mind for the future, and yes, to address the right message and to expand our knowledge. And as I mentioned before, we shouldn't look too far, because sometimes this is why, when people ask you, look for someone who you will see you in 5 years or 10 years, and then you say, okay, to who? But sometimes you can find inspiration and mentorship around you. And this is a good way to start. And then, of course, addressing the right message and the right topics to start with. And mental health, psychology, and fair play and diversity and inclusion are extremely important for the free flow of new ideas, definitely. So it's super important to keep this in mind. And yes, in every level.
And, you know, on a selfish point, I guess, to finish that off, I spoke to a health insurer today that wants more information on how service companies can enter into the esports market. Because I realized that I was an idiot during our meeting, and I talked all the time about, you know, clothing companies and other people that have direct points of sale. And, you know, I could see I don't think it was frustration on their face, but they're probably like, what's this guy talking about? Like, we don't sell clothes. And they were like, do you have any examples? So the closest I had for them off the top of my head was DHL. But I think it would be very interesting to see more about that and more about, I guess what you could say, the slow burn, because a lot of my content has really been focused on, you know, how many jerseys or pieces of items that FaZe can sell in one go, you know, how many views certain content creators and influencers might get. But I'd be really interested in seeing those long-term effects of, you know, DHL getting into the space. Do they get into there for specific reasons? And I think another fantastic case study for me would be corporates. You know, like a long-time sponsor of the UFC that I saw in the Octagon was Hudson Shipping Lines. It's like, why, the initial question is, why the hell would a shipping company be sponsoring MMA? Very similar to a recent sponsor. Oh, I think I dropped out. I dropped out this time. Now I'm back.
Yes.
We're all back. Yeah, sorry, to finish the line of thought, one of the other companies that I saw really recently was a respirator company. And you go to their website and they're very hardcore targeted at the military and selling directly. They do sell to the public, but most of their marketing is around militaries. And they would obviously understand that a lot of military people, I assume, are interested in mixed martial arts and the UFC. So I'd love to see some of that stuff about esports too, but those long-term effects, those corporate effects, you know, why do people own corporate boxes at stadiums? You know, it's not to watch the football. It's generally to get business done in the corporate box and to show off and things like that. So I'd love to see some of those things in esports too.
Yes, for sure. And for me, it's like the banking industry. I have a background in finance for a couple of years, and I always wonder when the banking industry are going to step in and get into sports and bankerize young generations or create products for this young generation that are making a fortune. So.
Yeah, that is true. So I've had both your attention for quite some time now, but for you, we'll start with Maria. Where's the best place for people to connect with you online if they'd like to chat or follow you?
Oh, well, they can reach out to me through LinkedIn or drop an email. I'm pretty accessible, actually.
Yeah, fantastic.
But
and for you, Débora?
LinkedIn works very well.
I guess for me, it's LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm always connected. So, or Facebook. I have all social media. So anywhere, as a marketing person, I have to be on that. But mostly LinkedIn and Twitter. I respond and I'm always connected. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. And for anyone listening, you know, whether you're watching live or listening later now, we'll have all the links in the description so you can click through. Because I apologize, you know, I have trouble spelling your name as well, Maria. So I'm sure other people, if you read it out,
no worries.
It's part of the digital world.
All good.
Exactly. I mean, they invented copy paste for a reason, right? I use it an unbelievably large amount of times. now that I'm starting to do a lot of work with people in Latin America as well, there's a lot of copy pasting happening in my life.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for having us, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. And thanks to everyone who's tuned in. So whether you're listening live now on LinkedIn or through Twitch, whether you're watching the video or listening to audio only podcast, once again, we've got podcasts coming out every week. At this stage, we're releasing them every Thursday. Our last episode was probably one of my favorite thus far, was with Jeff Pabs from FaZe, the second time the Chief Revenue Officer has been on board. So we talked about some things, including them selling $3 million worth of merchandise in a single drop. So if you're interested in some of the numbers, go back and have a listen. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you.